Hey yo, this rap is like ZD, Facing Me Real TV, Crash at High Speeds, Strawberry Kiwi. Strawberry Kiwi. This man really just be rapping recipes and we just call it dope, but I mean, it kind of is. So in just a couple of months, y'all, I will fulfill a bucket list item. I will finally get to see the Wu-Tang live in concert. I've never seen them live in concert. Can't believe it's been this many years. Gonna happen in a couple months. So in honor of that, I'm gonna show a little love to my favorite Wu-Tang Clan member, in my opinion, the artist in the Wu with the greatest discography. This came up on my TikTok a few days ago. The man I think who has the greatest discography in the Wu-Tang, solo discography that is, Pretty Toney, aka the Wallabee champ, aka Starkey Lovebug, aka Tony Stark's Ghostface Killah. Yes, we're talking about Ghostface today, and we're going to be talking about every single one of his projects. I mean, he's got so many. And look, I'm a big fan. I have so much stuff. You see, I've got The Mask. I've got so many of the albums. Look at that. So many of those joints. Even more over there that I didn't dig out because I was too lazy. I even have the man's book. I got the brother's book, and I'm still going through it, and it's dope. So today, I'm going to fulfill one of those long-standing requests, and we're going to rank every single Ghostface solo project, including some group projects that aren't Wu-Tang, but sort of Wu-Tang. You'll see what I mean. So pull up a chair, get your strawberry kiwi on, and come along for the ride. It is GFK Day. And thank you for joining me for another edition of the Soul and Stereo Sessions right here on YouTube. And yes, today we are talking about Ghostface Killah himself. I'm so excited because I'm a longtime fan, and it's funny because if you were a fan of the Wu's original incarnation, Ghostface wasn't really on our radar like that, at least not for me. Like, all of the attention usually went to ODB because he was so crazy, or Method Man because he had that distinct flow, RZA and GZA, and even I would say Raekwon was one who was very noteworthy, but it was that Raekwon solo project where Ghost was the co-star that really rose his stock. And before we knew it, he was the guy. He was the face of Wu. And when some other members had some kind of hit or miss releases, Ghostface almost always hit. And we're going to show you why today as we look at 21, yes, 21 Ghostface solo and sort of group projects. But before we begin, y'all know how it is. Let's take care of some housekeeping. Do your boy a favor, and if you haven't already, make sure you click like on this video right now. Go ahead and click it right now. Just go ahead. I'm sure it takes a half a second. Click like. If you haven't yet, thank you for doing so. Also, if you haven't, make sure you subscribe to this channel. You know, it always helps us small YouTube content creators out a lot, because the more subscriptions we have, the more our videos get pushed out, the more friends we have come join us, and most importantly, it's more motivation for me to make more videos for y'all. And then, of course, make sure you share this with the Wu-Tang member in your life, because there's a lot of Wu heads out there, and I'm sure they will have a lot to say about this video. Let's get it started. No time to waste. 21 of the best Ghostface Killah projects. Coming in and dead last, album number 22 is Ghostface Killah's. Ghost album. Ghost doesn't make too many bad albums, but I felt like this one was very uneven and also very unmemorable. Almost every project we're going to talk about today, I can at least name one song that I take away from it that I love. I can't think of anything from here that I revisited. I mean, most of the stuff on the first half is okay, then the second half is totally forgettable, but I just don't have enough here for me to revisit. It was just an album. It felt like just an album to exist, and it was nothing here to pull anything away from. Objectively speaking, it's certainly not horrible, hence the score of 3.5, but it's nothing you're going to revisit, nothing you want to go back to, and definitely not up to par with most Ghostface projects. Coming in at number 21 is Set the Tone, Guns N' Roses. Now, the premise of this almost worked. So, first of all, I like the album title, Set the Tone. Get it? Pretty tone, set the tone. See what you did there, Ghost. But the Guns N' Roses deal is supposed to be like two halves of Ghostface. So the gun side is the street, the mafioso stuff, the kind of stuff that you're used to having from Ghost. But then the Roses is the softer side. And Ghostface really is very adept at giving you kind of the more emotional and the girl songs, if you want to call it that. And just more of the emotional romantic side of him. That's not something that's foreign. He's done that before and he's just done it well. He don't do it well here though. The gun side is actually pretty good. It actually has a couple of joints that I can go back and revisit. I thought it had some joints. The Roses side is a hot mess. The balance, because the first half is so good, kind of makes this one rise up a little bit more, and that's why it's a little bit more memorable than Ghostface Killah's. But that other side is just so, I don't know what happened. It's some of the worst songs that my guys ever put out on that album. But thankfully the first half saves it from being dead last. But again, this is not an album that you need to rush in here. Coming in at number 20, I really like this project. It is 12 Reasons to Die 2. So 12 Reasons to Die was a very, very cool project with Ghostface and producer Adrian Young. And they came together and just gave us like this horror movie on wax. It was really, really greatly done. It's a cool concept. This is the sequel. And like most sequel movies, unless you're Empire Strikes Back or Judgment Day 2, it's just what it was. They tried to recapture that cheesy B-movie slasher flick kind of feel, and it sort of gets it, but it just feels like leftovers compared to what we got before. The original album is very good. It was a great concept. We'll get to that later. This one's fine. It's an okay successor, but again, can't beat the original. And at number 19 is Wu Massacre, the album with Ghostface, Method Man, and Raekwon. And we've talked about this album a couple times here on the channel. And again, it rates kind of low. It's more disappointing than bad. Because when you get three of probably my three favorite Wu-Tang members on one project, oh my gosh, and they've got the comic book aesthetic going on, it should be a winner. But it was just okay. I don't know if everybody wasn't focused, if everyone wasn't there. It just felt very rushed. It was like, oh, I got some leftover tracks. Oh, we can just throw this in here and make this a project and boom, out of the door. With a little bit more care and precision, this would be really good. What we got is just kind of a curiosity that's kind of forgotten today. Such a shame. Again, far from bad. Far from a bad project. If I dropped today, it would probably be in the middle of the pack of some of the best albums I've heard this year. But expectations were too high, and this was just a whimper. Coming in at number 18 is Czarface meets Ghostface. Another collabo with Ghostface and Czarface. And if you aren't familiar with Czarface, that's Inspector Deck, another Wu-Tang member. Esoteric and 7L, they have come together to have their own little mini multiverse of comic theme albums of their own, and it's kind of cool. Check them out if you haven't. A lot of the Czarface stuff is very fun. This one with Ghostface is good. I really like it, but I wish I liked it even more. From a technical standpoint, everything is good. The bars are where they need to be. The energy is there. It's fun. It just ranks a little low on this list because a little bit like Wu Massacre, I just expected a little bit more. But in terms of quality, as you can see, I gave it 4 stars. It's a great album. Definitely worthy of checking out. Just wish there was a little bit more to give it over the hump and make it very, very memorable. That's the only thing that's missing. Coming in at number 17 is The Lost Tape. So it's a funny backstory to this. This album is produced by a guy that I love to death. One of those guys that one day I will meet you, Big Ghost. Now, if you were part of early Twitter and like the early days, maybe like 2012, 2013 or so, Big Ghost was one of the first guys on Twitter who would just roast these artists in the most hilarious ways. You think Drake gets hate now? You need to go look at some old Big Ghost tweets. He would destroy these dudes, and it was funny because he was telling the truth. And from there, yeah, this kind of visage that kind of reminded people of Ghostface, and there was this whole thing. But they mended fences. Like, he is not Ghostface. Ghostface is his own thing. People were confusing them as the same person because he was using Ghostface adjectives, you know, the rapping like strawberry kiwi type deals. But he kind of came together, and having these two on one track was something that was just, it's a match made in my early Twitter heaven to have these together. And look, Big Ghost is a great producer, and we know Ghostface is on fire, so this turned into a really, really good project. Again, it's some of those things that seem like a little side quest for Ghostface, so it kind of came and went. But for what we got, I thought it was really good. I revisited a lot. I wish we got more of these two together because they have some very good chemistry. Going all the way back to 2012 Twitter to 2018 when this dropped. Man, it's such fun stuff. I miss the days before Twitter was a cesspool. Coming in at number 16 is Sour Soul. This is another team-up album with Ghostface and a Toronto band called Bad Bad Not Good. Again, this is real weird because this don't sound like 36 Chambers. This is Ghostface kind of teamed with a jazzy, hip-hop kind of fusion group. So it's a very different sonic feel for him. But this is Ghostface, so of course he goes nuts. And he sounds really good over this live instrumentation. Like, his bars are just so prickly. The production is so soothing. It really makes for a great, great soundscape. This is one of those ones that flew under the radar in 2015, so you may have missed it. But I think it holds up pretty well today. Definitely check it out. Very out-of-the-box partnership, but it works. Can't hate on what works. Coming in at number 15 is another project that I have wanted forever. Wu Block, Wu-Tang Clan, and the Lox. What? Yes, we got it, and I loved it. So this is basically Ghostface and Sheek Louch, who have kind of collabed on projects for years and years and years. So them coming together and doing this as one album is something that was long overdue. And I was with it. I think it worked very well. Like most of the projects on the later half of the list kind of came and went. But as far as what we got, it was very good. We had some great production. Benny Idol, Eric Sermon. They really brought out like kind of the A-listers to give it the feel that it needed. So while it wasn't the 5-star classic that you might expect from these two top tier MCs plus all their friends coming to join us, wasn't quite that good, but it was absolutely enjoyable in the moment. I had a lot of fun with this one. Coming in at number 14 is Bulletproof Wallets. Now, this album really got beat up on back in the day, and I'll be honest, I was one of the ones who beat up on it because at this point, Ghostface had like a 3-album run that was of the ages. I mean, we'll get to those albums later on. Spoiler, they're like near the top of this list. So we got this album that just lands here at like number, where are we, 14? Yeah, 14? Eesh. Like, this seems like a bad album, but far from it. It was just a different album from Ghostface. It was a little bit more commercial than we were used to, but it certainly had its moments. And I think going back with a more, less judgmental ear, instead of being like, what did we get? We got this before we got this. But listening to what we got instead of what we had, I think you appreciate it a little bit more. Far from his best album, clearly, if we're not even in the top 10. But I think it's one that's a lot more solid than we got. We got some really good lyricism because it's Ghostface. We got some really funny songs. The Carl Thomas song is still hilarious. I'm Coming Back Never, still hilarious. And some great album cuts as well. Flowers, I used to call this song Flowers, but it's Flowers. That's one of the bangers. So there's some great stuff here that you can embrace. Yeah, it's not perfect, but still, I think it's pretty solid. It's just a little bit unappreciated. Coming in at number 13, and this is when we're getting to the good stuff, y'all. 36 Seasons. So I talked a little bit earlier about 12 Reasons to Die. This kind of cinematic, almost, it's almost like Ghostface created this cinematic world and he's going to use these 10 or 12 tracks to just run amok and tell his own story. That's what 36 Seasons is. It doesn't follow the exact same timeline as 12 Reasons to Die 1 and 2, but it's still the same deal. It's still, he's telling a story. He's talking about trying to reclaim his neighborhood after like his disloyal former friends betrayed him. So it's kind of like this gangster tale, blaxploitation joint, but done so well. I love the production on this. Love the feel, love the tone of it. And you know me, I love an album that tells a great story. I put this one way above 12 Reasons to Die 2. Not as good as the original, of course. We'll get to that one very, very soon. But this is a great album. And if you love storytelling, hard to beat, especially with a narrator as great as Ghost. Alright, coming in at number 12 is Ghostface, the Wizard of Poetry in Emerald City. Gotta get that Emerald City right. What a title. Wizard of Poetry in Emerald City. So back in 2009 when we heard that Ghostface was putting out an R&B record, the streets were mad. They were mad. And I was kind of raised my eyebrow too. But again, like I said a little bit earlier, when you think about it, Ghostface has always done R&B style records. He loves the stylistics and the dramatics. He's always rapping over these soulful beats. He's always rapped about the ladies. This is no different. It was the same thing. We thought he was going to be actually singing. We'll save that for the coding children a few years later. He doesn't do that. He's just rapping over soulful R&B beats, and he mostly does it well. This is not the traditional Ghostface album, and I like that. We talked about 20 projects here. We don't want 20 projects to sound the same. This is very unique in its approach, and for the most part, it is very good. Of course, there are definitely some moments that he could have kept, like Stapleton Sex. Some of that is like, alright man, that's a little bit too much for me. But when he's focused and locked in and just telling stories over soulful backdrops, I'm in. That's what I'm here for Ghostface, and he delivers. Wizard of Poetry, one of the most underrated Ghostface albums, and I will ride for it. Coming in at number 11 is The Big Dough Rehab. I love Ghostface titles. I mean, he's just telling you what this is. I'm making this album to rehab my dough. My dough getting low, so you're going to get this album. And this album is funny. A lot of these albums in this group that we're about to talk about are very good in my opinion, but for some reason people just don't really talk about them. Maybe they didn't have the hit singles. But at the time we wore them out. I thought it was dope. And this is one of the ones I thought was really, really strong. He's like top tier. This is 2007, so he's coming off of a very big run of the Fish Scale albums. We'll get to that soon. So he had a lot of gas in the tank. He just had a lot to get off his chest, and he was still running off of that. And while he wasn't as strong as that previous series, you could tell he still had a little bit of that Super Saiyan energy in him. He had that Senzu beam was still in his veins, so he was going real hard. Production is good. The lyricism is always crazy. His creativity is just like, dude, how do you come up with this crazy stuff? And this album is really a reflection of that. The only thing that holds it back is, like I said, there's a lack of a standout single or a couple of songs that you're like, okay, that's the album that had XYZ. That holds it back a bit. But what we got is very good, very underrated, as most of the albums are in this kind of block that we're getting into. Definitely worth your time. And again, the album title is hilarious. Top 10 time, and we are here with number 10 with Put It On The Line. I bet some of y'all don't even know what this is, so allow me to educate you. So after Ghostface dropped a couple years earlier. He had a collective album called the Theodore Unit. The Theodore Unit. I guess he couldn't call it T-Unit, so he had called it the Theodore Unit. Alright, whatever. But that album is very good, and we'll get to it later. But from that album, he had a lot of chemistry with Trife the God. So they decided to just basically do what Ghost and Ray did years earlier with Only Built for Cuban Links, and do it here with Put It On The Line. It was just these two MCs going at it. And this album is way better than you would expect. Way better. These two dudes are just so determined to out-rap each other. You can get the competitive spirit, and they are going crazy on this joint. I mean, if you take out 2 or 3 of the lesser tracks, I might put this close to top 5. Like, that's how dope this album is. It is, again, that mid-2000s era where Ghostface was at his lyrical peak. He was on another level. So much chemistry with Trife. So much great energy here. And they were just on fire. Songs like Struggle and The Watch and Gangsta. Oh, just make sure you check those out. I don't even know if this is on streaming. It should be if it's not. Hit YouTube if it ain't. Put It On The Line. Ghostface, Trife the God. It was great. Make sure you hear it. Alright, up next is number 9 and 12 Reasons to Die, the first one. I've talked about this one a lot on this list, but here we are, we're finally here. Ghostface, Adrian Young, they come together and they decide they're gonna make a horror movie on an album. And it is so great. Ghostface comes back from the dead as this betrayed gangster, and he's gonna wreak havoc on all his allies. I mean, it sounds just like some blaxploitation joint, some Walking Dead in the hood type joint. And it's as silly as it sounds. It is so great. The production here is immaculate. The energy is great. There's so many great songs. The Sure Shot, Blood on the Cobblestones. Even the titles are fire. Great, great song. And what I love about it is the creative energy. You didn't have this type of creativity, especially in the early 2010s with hip-hop, from our veterans, where they were just kind of, in this era, our veterans were either completely falling back or just doing what the youngins were doing. You didn't have them taking these type of risks, and this album really succeeds because of the risks that Ghost and Adrian took. An incredible project, worth your time, player. 12 Reasons to Die. Give me 12 Reasons to Die 3. We need to make it a threequel. Threequel? That what they call the 3 sequels? Threequel. Actually, I think they call it a trilogy. Oh well. Coming in at number 8 is More Fish. Now, this was the follow-up to the renowned Fish Scale album that we'll talk about very, very soon. But this album, when I first got it, I was like, More Fish? Is this just gonna be scraps from that album that we didn't get before? And maybe we did. Maybe they were scraps that we didn't get. But these are freaking good scraps. I mean, Blue Armor, I play that song all the time because, oh, it's so great. There was so much meat left on the bone, on the fish bone. You see what I did there? For Ghostface to just go back and revisit. So even though the original Fish Scale project wasn't even a year old at this point, he went back to the well, delivered again with the same level of consistency and quality as what came before it. We had to love it. We had to embrace it. And it still stands as one of his best projects to date. Pretty good for an album we thought was just going to be full of scraps. These were some tasty morsels. Coming in at number 7 is Apollo Kids. I'll tell a story. When I heard this album was going to be called Apollo Kids, I was in my feelings. I was in my feelings because one of my favorite Ghostface songs is called Apollo Kids. And at this point, that song's 10 years old. Why are you naming your album after an old song? But, I mean, it's his song, so he can do that. And this album worked. You can tell, look at the cover. The cover is just a rhyme book. And that's what this is. A raw, unapologetic, visceral rhyme. He's just dirty and grimy and giving you rock solid writing and rapid fire punchlines over scratchy samples. That's all I want from my Ghost. You don't have to be fancy. I mean, I like with the Wizard of Poetry and the 12 Reasons to Die, but sometimes I just want some gritty bars, and that's all this album is. There's a track on this joint called Drama. It's him, it's The Game, Joel Ortiz, I love Joel. They put together one of my favorite songs of all time called Drama. You just gotta check it out. You'll hear this song, you'll be like, why are you so hyped about this song? The storytelling is so funny. They each tell individual stories about drama. Love this song. Great, great album. Very underlooked album. Probably his most underrated album, but hey, we talking about it at number 7, lucky number 7, because Apollo Kids hits. Alright, I know I'm going to get some flack for this one, but y'all, you've been tuned in this long, you need to hear it. Coming in at number 6 is Ghostface's Supreme Clientele 2. Yes, the album that just came out about a year ago now, but it is number 6 on the list. Y'all are going to be like, oh, that's recency bias. I've been listening to this album almost a year, and it's still in rotation. I love it that much. So we know the story behind it. So in 2025, Nas had his Legends Have It series with Mass Appeal, and he went to the veterans of the game and went to them and was like, look, y'all, all of y'all gonna drop some bangers. Everybody been playing in your faces. Y'all are legends. Y'all ran this game. You gonna give them some heat. And in my opinion, with the exception of probably the Mobb Deep album, this is my favorite release. Yes, better than Ray. Yes, better than De La. And I know y'all love that De La album. I think this is the best one, other than Mobb Deep, because that one was incredible. And it became one of Ghostface's best projects. And the reason why I love it is because it fits the theme of Supreme Clientele 2. I'm not big on sequel albums. I've said that a million times on this channel. But it captured the spirit well. It doesn't feel like we just slapped this name up here just so you would buy it. It really feels like a spiritual successor. You got the hard tracks. You got the introspective tracks. You got the facts where he's talking about his family, his friends. He's talking about the tracks where, like, he had his friend that was shot in the street and he's trying to coax him back to life. He's rapping over the soul samples. It's everything we love about Ghostface all coming together in one thing, and it is so immaculately done. I love this album because at this point, you know, we talked about Set to Tone and Ghostface Killahs. I thought Ghost was like, he's setting that career where we're just gonna get them 3.5 star, them 3-star albums and it'll be fine. No. He was like, I still got one for y'all, and this was one of his best to date. Love it, love it, love it. I will always ride for Supreme Clientele 2. Coming in at number 5 is 718. I know y'all are like, what is this? What is 718? Well, let me tell you what 718 is. We talked a little bit earlier about the T Unit, the Theodore Unit, the T Gang or whatever. In an era where we had G Unit and Dipset, it seemed like everybody had a crew. This was Ghostface crew in 2004. And they dropped an album, and oh my gosh. I could not believe how good this was. I remember hearing the buzz in 2004 that, like, this album was really good. You had to hear it. And back then, it was a little harder to get stuff than it is now. Everything wasn't just immediately on streaming. You had to work for some of these little lesser known joints. So it took me a long time before I heard it. When I actually heard it, probably in the Dat Piff days, I was like, oh my gosh, this joint is fire. This joint is too fire. They got the usual, instead of like having the kung fu and the gritty samples like that, it was more kind of the energy of 2004 as far as the production. It was more in that vein. So it was a little different for Ghost, but by that point he had kind of evolved beyond kind of the Wu-Tang kind of template. So it worked. It was just him and a bunch of new spitters who were not Wu-Tang good, but definitely good enough to be in their shadow. And with Ghost leading the helm, we had Trife the God. It was incredible. What an incredible release. And a lot of these guys were going to help some of the projects later on, like Fish Scale, and they were kind of sprinkled throughout. Such great MC, such great energy, and one of the biggest and most pleasant surprises of 2004 and of 2000s hip-hop in general. Another album that you probably haven't heard that you absolutely must. I'm sure it's floating around here on the web somewhere, so get your hands on it. It's worth a listen. number 4 is one of my all-time favorites, the Pretty Toney album. Now, I understand why people don't like Wizard of Poetry. I understand why people don't like Bulletproof Wallace. I do not understand why some people don't like this album. Well, maybe I do. Because a lot of the, well, I won't say a lot, several of the songs here were made specifically for kind of radio. Like they had the song with Missy, Tush. People didn't like that song. I thought that song was hilarious. So I love that song. So there were some songs that felt like they were a little bit out of Ghostface's realm, but he still was Ghost. I don't care that Missy was talking about tush, 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 and the bush, bush, bush. Because Ghost was still being Ghostface, even if the production was a little bit more trendy. And forget it, not say you didn't like that. There was plenty of other straight up Ghostface bangers here. Beat the Clock, Biscuits, Run. Oh, this album is just back to back to back to back to back to back bangers. The mainstream stuff might not be for everybody, but I liked it. But if you didn't, there's enough authentic Ghostface here that really carries this album. It doesn't get the love it deserves. In my opinion, it's hard to beat among his best works ever to date and one of my favorite albums really of all time. Love this album. I gotta put my biases aside. There's no way I can put this number 1. But I gotta put it number 4 because it deserves that much love. I love Pretty Toney. I love this album. Coming in at number 3 is Fish Scale. And yes, from here on out, it ain't nothing but top tier. And you know, sometimes I would say buzz can be a little bit of a bad thing. This album had so much buzz. We heard it was going to be production from Jay Dilla, MF Doom, Pete Rock. We just heard it. Ghost had a banger on his hands. And he actually did. He delivered one of the best albums of his career. This thing is so hard. This thing is so hard hitting. But it's so heartfelt. And he's got songs like Whip You With a Strap. Like, how you even come up with this song? It's a song about getting beat as a kid for being bad. But, again, there's still like a lot of heart to it. So even though, yeah, the name and he's got the, you know, the pharmaceutical bars, so to speak. Plenty of that, but plenty of Ghostface energy, plenty of the heart, plenty of the posse tracks where he goes nuts. Great production. This is Ghost at his peak in the mid-2000s when we had that career revival. This is it. A great release, and some people say this is his best. I wouldn't say that, but man, it's very close. Coming in at number 2, and I know this is many people's number 1, but it's my number 2. We're gonna go with Iron Man. This album, y'all, was one that was greatly anticipated after we heard what he did on Only Built for Cuban Links with Raekwon. At the time, if you were saying, oh, we're getting a new Ghostface album, you'd be like, where's Inspector Deck? We want an Inspector Deck album. Where's another Method Man album? People are seeing more focus on that than Ghostface. But when we heard him there, we were like, we need more of this guy. And he absolutely took advantage of the eyeballs that were on him. You get some masterful, soulful introspection. The storytelling is crazy and the punchlines are insane. Some of the production here, freaking, oh my god, the Speed Racer song, Indy 500, oh my god, Daytona 500, I'm sorry. There is so much in it. Cam-A, you had Cam-A that was just like, oh, the sensual song, the predecessor to all the Wizard of Poetry stuff. And of course, All That I Got Is You, where he does the heartfelt storytelling with his family. This album is sentimental, but it will also punch you right in the face. And that's why we love Ghostface. I know that he doesn't love this album as much because he was going through a lot at the time. And I know he kind of brings up bad memories. But for us fans, this is the album that cemented him as one of the best. And for those who say it's his best, hard to argue. But I would say there is one even better. And yes, coming in at number 1 is Supreme Clientele 1. Remember the year 2000, players? Remember the year 2000 when we were all worried about bling and shiny suits and everything was all about excess? Well, Ghost, instead of focusing on all of that, he decided to be the biggest ghetto superstar of all time. He went from just the scrappy dude who was doing stuff like Iron Fist, not that, Iron Man, to this coming like this playboy that was the supreme clientele. So he took a little bit of the glitz and glamour of the 2000s, but he thugged it up in the best of ways. And this produced some of the best songs of his career. Nutmeg, Apollo Kids, the song, not the album. And of course, Mighty Healthy. Mighty Healthy, one of the greatest Wu-Tang songs of all time. I will say it right here. Mighty Healthy is incredible. Oh my God, so they are killers. The beat that's been used and recycled by everybody from Kanye and everyone else started right here. It was an incredible statement, and anybody who doubted him after Cuban Links, anybody who was foolish enough to doubt him after Iron Man, Supreme Clientele proved that Ghostface was the king of the solo Wu-Tang projects going into the new millennium. That's why I give it the coveted 5 stars, because it's that great. One of hip-hop's greatest gems. Alright players, that's it. All 22 Ghostface projects. Thank you for hanging with me, because this was a long one, but now is your turn. Let me know your favorite. Are you a Supreme Clientele lover? Are you a Iron Man? Or do you rock with the Fish Scale? And if you rock with Pretty Toney, then you're going to be my favorite. So let me know what your favorite is in the comments below. And be sure to share this with the Wu-Tang lover in your life. This edition of the Soul and Stereo Sessions is a wrap. I don't know about you. I'm about to go mask up in these streets. Actually, maybe I shouldn't mask up in this economy. You know how they move out here. Or maybe I should. This YouTube game is like ZD, Squawberry, Kiwi, Passion Fruit, something. I don't know. I can't make it sound as cool as Ghostface. Play on, players.